Emana hopes fans go easy on her other Pinoy netters without Eala-level training. Manila, Philippines. Emana hopes fans cut her and the other Filipino netters not named Alex Eala at the Philippine Women's Open some slack, saying they didn't have specialized training like the world number 49 player had. The reigning UAP MVP from University of Santo Tomas said what fans failed to realize is that Eala received elite-level training at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain. For comparison, Emana said she, Teniel Mides and Elizabeth Abarca, who all suffered early exits at the ongoing inaugural WTA 125 Philippine Women's Open, are merely varsity players. I see it whenever there's a post about other Filipino athletes competing, like Elsie Abarca. I see in the comments that people say we're very different from Alex, said Emana. But of course, I hope they realize that she has a coaching staff with her while we're just on our own. I also hope people will think that no dedicated team, is helping us, added Emana, who fell to Russian Tatiana Prozorova in the round of 32, 1-6, 0-6, at the Rizal Memorial Tennis Center Tuesday. Emana also wishes that more training and seminars are offered in the country so that players like her can develop further. I hope there will always be training and seminars. Because it's really hard, especially when there's no money, no budget. And when it's just you on your own, it's really difficult to improve, said Emana. It's not like Alex, who has the Nadal Academy. So I hope there will always be training here in the Philippines, so that there's something we can rely on to win in WTA events. Heading to her third year in the UAP, Emana, 22, is happy to have played in a WTA-level tournament. Of course, I'm happy, because I was able to play in this kind of tournament, and it's an international one, so I'm just happy that I got to participate in an event like this. Please be gentle, Emana, expectation, and the weight carried by Pinoy netters. When Emana steps onto the court, she doesn't just hear the squeak of rubber soles or the hollow pop of ball against strings. She hears expectations. Some are whispered, "Kaya, you can do it." Others are louder, sharper, harder to ignore. Comparisons, rankings, questions she never asked to answer. She knows the name that floats in the air before every serve. Alex Eala. Everyone knows Eala's story by heart now. The elite academies, the world-class competition, the polish earned from years of exposure to the best tennis infrastructure money and opportunity can buy. For Filipino fans starved of global tennis success, Eala represents proof, kaya pala natin. We can belong on the world stage. But Emana is not Eala. And she has never pretended to be. I just hope fans go easy on us, Emana once said, half smiling, half bracing. Not as an excuse. Not as a shield. More like a quiet request from someone who loves the game but understands the uneven ground she's been playing on all along. The unequal court. In the Philippines, talent often blooms despite conditions, not because of them. Tennis courts are scarce, training programs inconsistent, and international exposure a luxury. For many Pinoy netters like Emana, development means borrowed rackets, patched-up courts, and coaches who double as mentors, parents, and sometimes miracle workers. There is no private jet to Europe for junior tournaments. No seamless pipeline to elite academies. Progress is measured in inches, not leaps. Yet when match results hit social media, context disappears. A loss becomes a failure. A shaky performance becomes a meme. And suddenly, players like Emana are asked, implicitly or directly, why they aren't better. Why they aren't faster, stronger, more ruthless. Why they aren't Eala. What fans sometimes forget is that greatness is not just about heart. It's about reps, about resources, about access. You can't grind your way into experience you've never been given. Loving the game anyway. What makes Emana compelling isn't that she's chasing superstardom. It's that she keeps showing up. She trains in heat that wilts concentration. She plays through minor injuries because recovery time is a privilege. She studies opponents who've been sharpening their games abroad since childhood. And still, she competes. There is a special kind of courage in that. She knows the scoreline might not favor her. She knows the comment sections can be cruel. But she also knows that every match matters, not just for her, but for the idea that Filipino tennis isn't a one-name story. When she asks fans to go easy, She isn't asking for silence or blind praise. She's asking for humanity. The burden of comparison. Comparison is easy. It's lazy. And it's addictive. Eala's success has raised the bar, yes, but it has also warped expectations. Suddenly, every Pinoy netter is measured against a once-in-a-generation talent with a once-in-a-generation pathway. That's not inspiration anymore. That's pressure without context. Emana carries that pressure quietly. She reads the comments. She hears the whispers. She knows some fans are waiting for her to prove she deserves support at all. But sport doesn't grow that way. If anything, it shrinks, until only one name remains, standing alone, expected to carry an entire nation's hopes on a single racket. What growth actually looks like. Progress in Philippine tennis won't look cinematic. It won't be a montage of instant wins and viral highlights. It will be slow, messy, and deeply unglamorous. It will look like Emana losing early rounds but learning. Like players staying local longer than they should because funding ran out. Like victories that don't trend, but matter anyway. It will look like fans choosing patience over punishment. Because every tennis country that eventually thrives starts here, in the awkward middle, where talent exists but systems lag behind. Where players are brave enough to try without guarantees. A softer kind of support. Imagine what could happen if fans cheered effort as loudly as results. If questions sounded more like "what do you need?" instead of "why aren't you winning?" If young players felt safe growing in public, without being torn down for not peaking on schedule. Emana doesn't want lowered standards. She wants fair ones. She wants room to grow without being flattened by expectations she never signed up for. She wants recognition that wearing the Philippine colors, especially in an underfunded sport, is already an act of belief. Beyond one star. Eala's rise is something to celebrate, always. But no sport survives on one star alone. For Philippine tennis to truly move forward, it needs depth. It needs Emana. It needs the nameless juniors grinding in provincial courts. It needs players who may never crack the top rankings but push the ecosystem forward simply by staying in the game. History remembers champions, but progress is built by communities. Fifth. So when Emana says, "I hope fans go easy on us," hear what she's really saying. See us. Understand the gap. Sure, anyway. Not because we're winning, but because we're trying in conditions that make trying an act of defiance. In the end, gentleness doesn't weaken sport. It sustains it. And maybe, someday, because fans chose patience over pressure, there will be more names to cheer, each with their own story, their own path, and their own hard-earned place on the court. Tennis.